Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Stallions Run. And it's playoff edition, basically, because the Stallions have clinched their way into the playoffs. And with the New Orleans win over the Memphis Showboats, that game is going to be in Birmingham no matter what. Will Birmingham be the home team? That's kind of the only question now. It's looking like with the Stallions win against Memphis this upcoming Saturday, that's going to be confirmed. But these Stallions are hosting are going to be at least a part of a playoff game in Birmingham, which is very exciting. It's cool to be able to say the Stallions are going to have a playoff game, especially after last year when the entire playoffs was in Canton and no one from Birmingham was able to really go unless you had time to go up to Canton, Ohio. So for the Stallions fans, you're being rewarded with a playoff game after supporting the team like this. It's really exciting, and I cannot wait to be able to see that happen. So count me as someone who's very excited for the Stallions game in Birmingham. But let's talk about how the Stallions got there. So first off, this was an important game no matter what. Not even just with the playoff implications. This was a game that was important because of what happened in Week 5. Week 5 was an embarrassment for the Stallions looking back at that. Yes, I will still talk about the penalties to this day. That is absolutely a problem. That was I can go into it. I think every Stallions fan has basically at this point let that go because of where we are now. But you also had the Stallions basically lost that game by a touchdown. And no one was really expecting that. Everyone was very shocked by that. And now you have this chance to one, be able to go into the playoffs, and two, then at least take some revenge for what happened in Week 5. This was an important game, and then you add on to with Magoo's MVP race, which again he solidified with this game. Mark Thompson goes out there and absolutely puts bulletin board material for the Stallions with that tweet I talked about last week. You're basically saying, if I lose to the MVP once, he's still going to get that MVP trophy. And what do you know? Mark Thompson has an absolute stinker of a game, and Magoo goes out there first quarter, and then like the first half of the second quarter, not exactly great, but kind of the tail of the tape when it comes to this game for the Stallions. Absolutely, kind of that with that final drive, especially in the second half, excuse me, in the second quarter. Just the Stallions went out there once they had their troubles gone and ran over the Gamblers. That was not an issue for them. So I guess let's start again to talk about the first quarter. It was something. It was a kicking game for a bit. Each team was kind of just. It felt like everyone was waiting for the shoe to drop on which team was going to be kind of in control. I guess yes, control. Like when it comes to how the game was going to flow, and each side just was making mistakes, turnovers, especially for Birmingham, and each side was making mistakes, and finally, both these sides in the first, Gamblers got the field goal. In the second, both sides were just absolutely trending field goals. It's like each team could get so far, and boom, all right, we're gonna move on from here. So that was something that was interesting to watch, especially with it's like, oh, okay, these are two very red zone good teams. What's happening here? And then we're entering into the final drive for the Stallions in that second quarter. This was an important drive for the Stallions. This was the drive where everyone needed to like, okay, we can go out there. We're getting the ball in the second, in the third, and we can go out there. We can score a touchdown, and then we can possibly go out there and add more to it. And it felt like everyone kind of came together. Jace, Magoo, the offensive line, and it was just like, all right, we need this touchdown. Let's go get the touchdown. And it happened. the Stallions went out there, they get a touchdown, and they basically wrap up the first half with that lead, a 10-9 lead, but a lead over the Houston Gamblers. And then they come out there in the second. The Gamblers, they managed to get their field goals, literally just two more field goals, while the Stallions go out there and get 28 more points. That's right, 28 more points. That's 4 touchdowns. And again, it felt like right with that final drive for the first, everything like that. And you know, I can't tell you maybe if it was again like I was maybe theorizing when it came to that first quarter. Did the shoe drop? Was it something else? But it was good to see this team kind of finally go out there and just basically say, okay, we need this touchdown. We have to get something like this. Okay, we're getting that. We're scoring points for once. So something that's absolutely been a positive that with that ending. Otherwise, I mean, we can talk about the offensive explosion that was the second half. I feel like it would be boring people a little bit. I got we can just talk about how again Jay Steinberg absolutely basically was uh, the person for this team. I mean, again, Alex Magoo left complete to 45. We talked about that run, and then I mean the fourth quarter, especially. I mean, that was when the touchdowns really started to kind of run through. You had Alex Magoo rushing, and it's just like you know, and it felt like with the second half, everyone was finally clicking, and I'm hoping that's a good sign for the playoffs, where everyone we have people coming back. Scooby Wright's likely coming back for to play in Week 10. Hopefully that means also playoffs, where maybe we get again with Memphis. It's going to be interesting because everyone's in a weird place. So I'll talk about that in a second. But can we keep this chemistry kind of together with a new player coming onto defense again? So interesting kind of point, especially with how well the defense was clicking, especially the second half, and some not exactly. What was I going to say? Against the Stars, so that'll be week 7. But it's like, excuse me, week 8. But it's like there's this defense is a little weird for the Stallions. Um, so now let's talk about kind of what's going to happen with Memphis. I think this is going to be an interesting discussion. So the Stallions are in. They're the first team to clinch to the playoffs. All the South teams are going to be fighting for that this upcoming week. Right now, Memphis is looking the most likely out. They can still technically get in, but they need a lot to happen. They would basically need to absolutely blow out the Stallions. They would absolutely need to basically have New Orleans get ran over by the Gamblers, and they would basically have to be going fingers crossed. We can like basically points would have to be in their advantage. So Memphis, as of right now, is essentially eliminated from the USFL playoffs, which sucks because especially they had that just amazing comeback all of a sudden, and it just kind of falls flat on their face, especially with that embarrassing New Orleans loss. I mean, even before the weather delay, the New Orleans was basically owning them the entire time. So I guess for right now, what the Stallions plan to do, this is my guess. I have not talked to anyone about this. My personal opinion, the Stallions are probably going to start Alex Magoo for at least the first quarter. They'll probably have him basically going out there. My guess is they're going to be attempting to start stacking the score against Memphis, just so no shenanigans can happen with New Orleans. That way, they're technically the host for the playoff game, no matter what happens. And then maybe, depending on how the score is, it could be as early as the second quarter. I could see someone like Jalen Morton entering into the game. I doubt we're going to see Cal Slaughter be active this week, unless something really like strange happens in practice. Maybe they then put Slaughter in for the second string. I don't see that. So I am my prediction is basically we're probably going to get Alex McCoo at least for the first quarter. We're probably going to get your starting TE, so Jace, maybe Thaddeus for a bit, and then of course Petaway. So you have that there. Um, Otherwise, maybe you keep the O line in for a bit longer, make sure they're getting some reps. But I essentially see this being seen as almost I won't say throwaway game because knowing how Skip Holtz has acted, they're probably treating this just like any other game, 1-0 mentality. But at the same time, you're kind of in a weird place for this game where the showboats are eliminated. Essentially, you're already clinched in. You do not have to worry about anything. I my guess again, we're probably going to be seeing Jalen Morton in the second half, unless somehow the Stallions are losing. Then maybe we see Alex McGoo back in. So interesting times where we're able to be able to talk about a Stallions getting to host a playoff game, and then how long is Alex McGoo going to be in a game against Memphis? Because it's almost not worth it at that point. You do not want the man getting injured before a big playoff game. So that's going to be it for this week's edition of Stallions Run. Very excited. We're going to get to keep the show going, not just past week 10, where we then probably just do a wrap up episode, but we get to keep talking about playoffs. So excited to keep doing this show, excited to keep talking about it. And I am very excited for the playoffs. I know a lot of Stallions fans are too. Tickets are on sale for that. So be sure to go out there and grab your tickets. I've been Buck. Catch me around. I'll see you next time.